I get another cat. I get a dog. Ooh, my boyfriend never proposes to me. Dang it.
Hey, welcome to It's 420 Somewhere. We talk today about the difference between Sativa and Indica. What, is there one? So before we start that, I want to do a little bit of an update on the last story where I talked about fentanyl being in some marijuana. A new New York Times article has come out that kind of talks about not marijuana at all really, but it talks about fentanyl and its huge grasp on America that it's been getting more and more, and it's basically lacing every single drug. One of the most amazing data points that I saw in it was that 40% of illicit pills on the market have fentanyl in them. It's kind of a scary number there. But from the show last week, I talked about fentanyl and like not understanding why it would be a part of marijuana. It's not to get people more addicted to marijuana. But one option that I didn't even think of for some reason is that people are asking for it. And the article specifically says more than one dealer did not measure at all, spritzing liquid fentanyl onto baking sheets of marijuana, creating a once rare concoction that some dealers say is increasingly requested. So it's people requesting this. Again, I hadn't even considered. It makes you think that the marijuana is kind of the byproduct in this sense as opposed to the fentanyl, because fentanyl is so much stronger. Anyway, that's that. Our main story today is the difference between Sativa and Indica. And this is the age-old debate. This is the constant thing that's coming up more and more. However, I think the conversation has changed in the last few years. It's because we're seeing it as this kind of binary that's antiquated. It doesn't make much sense anymore, especially when there are studies being done, like one that was just posted in Nature Plants. A study was done that kind of looks at hundreds of different strains, looks at their chemical compounds and everything there, their terpenes, the CBD, the THC, everything involved in the chemical compounds, and analyzes what makes Indica and what makes Sativa. And they found that there's a huge overlap, and there's a lot of times confusion, and these compartments that we've created don't really make much sense anymore because they're just so simplistic. Now, a lot of you may think that, well, what does it matter if you're getting, if you end up getting some Sativa effects in an Indica or something like that? Well, what it does is it really kind of dulls your senses to the weed. It dulls what you can get out of it. And I like to kind of use the example of the wine industry, because this is like saying that there's only white wine and red wine, and that's it. There's nothing else in there. But there's then hundreds of different kinds of red wines and hundreds of different kinds of white wines and all of these things. And then we have these sommeliers who can sense all of the differences and the nuances. And what you're not getting with weed is that, well, you're getting some of that, of course, but you're discouraging that because of just having two different kinds and that's it. Leave it at that. That's a Sativa, that's an Indica. It's much more spectrum based, and it's a very, very large spectrum. One of the examples that they wrote in the article, which is kind of funny, is the cannabis cup. In 1999, a strain called AK-47 won the Sativa Cup. And 4 years later, 2003, it won the Indica Cup, the same strain. Nothing changed except it won the Sativa Cup and then it went to win the Indica Cup. So that kind of gives you a sense of how we don't really know what we're doing with this stuff. And a lot of the times we just kind of take somebody's word for it, that this is an Indica, this is a Sativa. It's just binary and compartmentalized and simplistic, and we can do better. That's all I really have to say about Indica and Sativa. To end the show, we can say that Ohio, they were getting a bunch of signatures to get lawmakers to look at legalization in the state, and they're just about there. They needed how many? They needed a crap load of signatures and a random number. They needed 132,887 signatures. They're about to get there. If the lawmakers decide not to legalize, then they can get another 132,000 signatures, and it will be on the ballot in 2022, and that'll probably go through. So Ohio's on the way, which just depends on how long it takes to get there. Another city or another place in America is St. Louis, that is looking to decriminalize marijuana. We have these two places that are getting close to legalization. And that's kind of it for today. It's a quick one. We'll be back on Wednesday with more stories. I'll see you then.
Grab her! Quit filming.
Grab her? What are you talking about?
Come on, aren't you a good citizen?
What do you mean?